Okay, today we have a special guest, Abbey Turnage, one of my students at the Mark Kislingbury Academy of Court Reporting. And welcome, Abbey.
Hello, it's good to be here.
Thank you. And Abbey uh, might be our quickest graduate. I have to check. I think she's the quickest for sure to get out of speed, to finish her speed. She's the quickest one. And I believe she got out of speed class within 1 month. Is that right, Abby?
hmm
Yes. So the way our school works is we have a whole 9 months of theory starting in September, and we finish in late May. And then we take a break, and in early June, speed building is started. And the really fast students, a lot of them will start at 140 or 160. And the slower ones will start at 110, 100, 90, 80. And Abby had been practicing so much that when she finished theory, she went straight into her closing speeds, meaning RPR speeds. She went straight into them. Is that right?
Yes, that's right.
Okay, that's amazing. And tell everybody how old you are, Abby.
I'm 20 years old.
20 years old. And how old were you, so I don't have to do the math, in September when you started with us?
I was 19 when I started, and then I turned 20 in December.
Okay. All right. So that is really great. So what did you do during theory class to make sure you were learning the theory, getting really good at theory, and gaining speed? What did you do?
So I would start out, whenever I really started working on my speed as well as theory, I would make sure I did the 2,000 strokes for homework. I did that only with theory, so I was making sure that I was still drilling the theory and incorporating what we were learning. And when I first started working on speed, I didn't do a whole lot with it. I would just watch one of the speed building classes maybe 2 or 3 times a week just to kind of get the feel of writing at a higher speed. But I just made sure that before I even let myself work on speed practice, that I did something with theory every day so that way I wouldn't fall behind in learning theory.
Excellent. Okay, as I understand it, you did go to Southern Miss for 1 year before court reporting school. Is that right?
That's right.
And then you played several instruments. You played piano in elementary school and then saxophone for 3 years in middle school. Is that right?
Yes.
And then you played drums for quite a while and you taught yourself to play guitar.
Yes.
Yeah, that's really cool. I taught myself to play guitar too. I don't brag about it though because I'm at a very amateur level.
Yeah.
uh, so, um, so it sounds like what you did for speed building, is that you visited some speed classes now and then,
hmm
um, 2 or 3 times a week during theory.
Yes, so I'm not gonna lie. The first quarter of theory, I was not a very good theory student. Um, I had a close relative die right after I started court reporting school, and just went through a lot of grief and everything, and struggled a lot. So the first quarter, I really wasn't great at being on my machine. I wasn't great at practicing and everything. It wasn't until the second quarter that I kind of just had a fire lit under me, and I realized this was my one chance to learn theory and learn it well. So that's when I really started focusing more on theory and practicing more and being on my machine more. And I would write to TV, but sometimes it would be a little out of reach for me. And I realized that I could access the speed building videos, so I just started watching them. And I would say the majority of the second quarter of theory, I did a lot of my speed practice in watching the speed building videos on the website for the school.
Okay, excellent. And did you also go back and re-listen to class videos and speed them up?
I did. Whenever that second quarter of theory started, and I realized that I really didn't build the foundation the first quarter like I needed to, over the Christmas break, I went back and I would watch the instructional video and at least 30 minutes of the video where we drilled the words, and I would speed it up because I did notice that, especially at the beginning, a lot of them were a lot slower and they were words I was more familiar with, so I would speed them up, and I think that helped as well. So I did go back and listen to a lot of the theory videos.
Excellent. All right. So you listened to class videos and you did speed them up starting in the second quarter.
Yes.
Okay. And I had told the class that it would be a good idea if they would work on speed at some point while they're in theory, didn't I?
You did.
Yes. And I usually told the class that at the end of 9 months, it's all the people who tend to graduate quickly are above 100 words a minute at the end of theory. Didn't I tell you that?
He did tell us that.
Okay. When do you think it was that you felt like you could write 100 words a minute pretty well? Do you remember where you were in theory that you could do that?
It was the third and final quarter of theory. It was right at the beginning. And I had just seen Rose Detloff's post about doing self-evaluations while in theory. And so I got the EV360 bundle kit that just had the self-evaluations in it and then the speed building feature, I believe. And I started doing the self-evaluations, and I started out at about 100 and maybe 120 for Q&A, around in that area. And that was when I first realized that I could write at 100 pretty well, and I wanted the challenge of trying to keep getting further while I was still finishing up theory.
Great. For students who don't attend my school who will be listening to you either on YouTube or in the Magnum Steno Club, they might want to ask you, was it hard to learn all the briefs in Mark's theory?
Some of them were a little tough, but for me, I kind of picked up on them pretty easy. A lot of them seemed to make sense to me. And I know you mentioned in class that after learning your theory, we start to learn to brief like you. And I do think that's a thing, because sometimes I'll guess a brief and it's already in the dictionary as that. And so I would say at the beginning it was a lot more difficult because you're learning everything about writing on the machine as well as learning the briefs. But to me, in the second and third quarter, I don't think it was as difficult because a lot of them seem to make more sense and come a little bit easier.
Okay, excellent. And I always ask this of my graduates or near graduates, and by the way, you would be graduated already, but you still have some academics to finish, don't you?
I do.
Yeah, so here we are in August, early August, and you actually finished your speeds in July. About a month ago, a little more than a month ago, you finished your speeds, right?
Yes.
Excellent. She finished her 225s, folks. She turned in 3 225s, and one of them had to be above 97%, correct?
Yes.
And then 3 jury charges at 200 and 3 literaries at 180, right?
Yep.
Yep, within 1 month. That is truly excellent. You seem to be someone who works very hard and probably is also gifted at this, you would think. But you know what? I've found whenever you have someone that is gifted at something and they work hard, you really can't tell where one starts and the other ends. You don't know if they were moderately gifted and worked super hard, or if they were very gifted and worked moderately hard. You just can't tell. Do you have a feel for that on which one of those you might be?
I feel like it's a good blend, because I definitely do think I was very blessed from God to be able to be on the machine the way that I am, but I also put in so much work. Because I didn't have to work, I had so much time to devote to steno, and I did as much as I could. If I was watching TV, I had my machine there with me. You know, if I was listening to a podcast, I had my machine there with me. I carried it with me anytime I left the house to go visit somebody, just in case I had time to practice. So I definitely do think a lot of it is being gifted from God, but I also did put in a lot of hard work to accommodate with that.
Oh, that is excellent. I love hearing that. I always like to give God credit because He's the one that gave us the gift to do it as well as the gift to work hard to do it.
Yes,
Yeah, so
absolutely.
so we can't take any credit for ourselves. But great job working really hard as you did. Do you have a feel for how many hours a day you averaged on the machine? If we just count your machine writing hours, not any academic classes.
It was a lot, probably anywhere between 4 to 6 hours because, like I said, if I sat down to do something, like watch TV or even watch YouTube, and I wasn't on my machine, I would kind of feel bad. But at the same time, I enjoyed it because it was fun to me, being able to write to things and see it come up on my computer and all. So it was a good bit of time. I try not to be on it more than an hour and a half. I didn't want to burn myself out on any given day, but I would if I had downtime or wasn't doing anything. I would try and be on my machine as much as possible.
Do you have any idea of what the average total hours would be in a given day?
Like I said, probably outside of school, maybe around 4.5 mostly, but on days where I just really wanted to be on it, more around 6 hours or so.
Okay, and that's not counting school?
Not counting school.
Okay,
I don't.
listen
I'm
to
a
that,
very.
folks.
I'll sleep a whole lot.
4 to 6 hours outside of theory class, and theory class is about 3 hours of,
Yes.
of being on the machine. So if she's doing 4 to 6, then you have to add 3 to that for school, for at least during theory. Okay, that is amazing. Now, let me ask you a couple speed building things.
Okay.
One thing that all students struggle with at some point is they're writing along and they're doing just fine, and then some hard word comes up that they've never heard of before.
Mhm.
How did you learn to handle that, and did you learn that early on, or did you have to struggle for a while how to handle weird things you've never written before?
I definitely struggled with that because I'm bad at being a perfectionist, so I never wanted to not hit a good stroke for it or anything. And as time went on, I just realized that if I tried to get this really hard word, I missed all these easy words that came right after it that I could have gotten, and then I just ended up with more errors. So I think Allie Hall talks about strategic dropping when test taking.
Uh-huh.
Whenever a really hard word pops up, just kind of going blank and then moving on with it. I believe it's her that talks about that. And so in my practice, I follow your rule of getting a stroke for everything and going on. But in test, I just trained myself that whenever a word popped up and if I didn't immediately know it, just kept going and try not to think about it anymore because you do more damage thinking about it and wondering, did that even translate or was it close to translating? And then you've messed up parts of your test that you could have gotten correct.
Excellent. I love to hear that. You mentioned that you're a perfectionist. Does that mean that you struggled early on with what I call write perfect and drop syndrome?
Yes, I had that very bad.
Well, how and when did you get rid of it?
I would say in about the third quarter of theory, when I really started working on speed, I realized that I was gonna have to get out of that mindset if I was going to make any progress in speed building because I realized that as I was sitting there doing takes and if it wasn't perfect by my standard and I would get a bad grade on it, and I just realized that I had to let myself write badly in order to be able to write good. And that was kind of a hard realization to come to, but whenever I let myself write at higher speeds and write terribly and it's really sloppy, when I would come back down, I would see progress. So I did have to face that, getting out of that mindset.
That's excellent. I've found that possibly 1/4 to 1/3 of all students and reporters are that way. They have that perfectionist tendency, and
Mm-hmm.
so you finally were able to overcome it. Now, did you listen to my speed building method where I speak for a class for about 45 minutes on how to build speed, and I have a handout and I go through that handout. Have you actually seen that video where I describe how to do speed building?
I did see that video. When I got to my 200s and started really struggling to gain speed with what I was doing, I stumbled across that video on the website and watched it. And I took pictures of all of the things on the handout, and they're in my favorites on my phone so I can get back to them easily and read through them.
Excellent. I'm sure some students would laugh or roll their eyes that you said you got stuck. But I know what you mean. If for how fast you were progressing, you felt like you were stuck at some point,
Hmm.
I guess around the 200 area.
Yes.
And so do you recall what you were doing wrong that you tweaked so that you could start gaining speed again?
I think I was terrified of 225, and so I was scared to write that fast because I think in my head I thought, well, if I don't get it right away, I'll never get that fast. So I had to that was really when I started having to listen to higher speeds to be able to write my goal speed. So I had to get out of that mindset, and it goes back to the perfectionist mindset of I have to write at higher speeds. I have to let it be sloppy. And so that way when I come back down, this speed will sound more gettable to me. So,
Okay. Did you use my method of writing a piece at least 7 times while slowing it down?
yes, I did. And it helped so, so much.
Excellent. That's the method that I use for my real-time contest practice and for speed practice. I still use that method to this day, and it really works well.
It does.
Oh, I'm so happy to hear that. While you're in your academics right now, it's been 1 month since you completed speed. Are you still keeping your speed up?
I am. After I got my RPR skills results back, I immediately started looking at my RMR because I'm in the mode of gaining speed and working on getting my Mississippi CSR. So I have some downtime. So I immediately just kept going, trying to move up, and I'm still using the slow down 7 to 12 times method on Magnum Steno Club still.
Oh, excellent. Do you go into the 10-minute endurance videos in the Magnum Steno Club?
I do.
That's where I do it too. Yes, that's great. Um, so congratulations on passing the RPR so quickly. Approximately when was it that you took and passed the third leg of the RPR?
I took the skills test, I believe it was July 15th, 16th, and 17th, and then I took the written knowledge test on the 19th. It was the following Tuesday after the skills test.
Okay, so you took each leg one day in a row,
I
three
did, and
days
I
in a row,
regretted it by the third day.
but you passed all three?
I did.
Yeah, excellent. And what's the status of you taking the RMR at this moment?
I went ahead and signed up for the literary for September because I do really well with literary for some reason. So I've already been working towards that, and then have been contemplating signing up for the jury charge and just giving it a go and seeing how I do on it. But my main focus has been on the literary portion of the RMR for next month and seeing how I can do on that.
Yes, I find personally that my theory does make me a lot better at literary compared
Hmm.
to other people than Q&A.
Yeah.
For some reason, writing short helps both tremendously, um, but the literary just always seems easier.
Yes.
And in fact, at the last contest just less than a month ago, the real time contest, I got first in the literary
Oh
and a
wow.
close second in the Q&A.
Hmm.
And Doug Zweizig won overall, and I got second. But I did win the literary because I guess it's because of my theory makes the literary so easy.
Yes, and the Magnum Steno Club really helps. I'll preach about that as long as I'm in school. The literaries and everything on the Magnum Steno Club, they're difficult and they're intimidating at first, but they
Hmm.
really help other material sound not as crazy.
Amazing. And You passed the EV360 tests, am I right? You didn't pass live tests from our teachers at the school, am I right?
I did a blend of both. I did
Oh,
some on EP360 and some of the live test.
okay. All right. But you had to pass three. Um, did you also have to pass the 1 minute, 2 minute, 3 minute, 4 minute, 5 minute?
Whenever I first started speed building, that was still in place, and I think a week into speed building is whenever it changed to you could do the 1 5 minute test at each speed and move up. But so for me, I just started focusing on the 3 5 minute takes instead of the 1 through 4 minutes.
Okay. Interesting. All right. Is there anything else I want to ask you? Let me think. The viewers may be interested to find out that you've applied to take the Mississippi CSR, but due to their laws, you're too young to become a CSR. Is that right?
Yeah.
Uh,
Yes, I actually
you
just
have to
submitted
be
my application the other day.
you have to be 21. Is that right? And
Yeah,
I guess they don't expect people to be younger than 21 and get out of school.
I guess not.
Yeah, but there is a way around it, right? If your teacher signs that you've passed the school and everything, is that part of it, or?
So I had to send in an official reporter here helped me with everything, and I'm so thankful to her because it was a little bit of a confusing process. But they have a board meeting coming up, so I submitted the application. But since I haven't graduated, I had to get Alan to sign off saying that I did pass my test and that I did finish the speed curriculum and everything.
Okay. So are you going to be able to become a Mississippi CSR before 21, or not really? You'll have to wait till you're 21.
I'm waiting on their decision to see. I hope so, but I think if not, they can give me a temporary license so I can go ahead and start working anyway. But it would be nice to go ahead and be a CSR too.
Yes, and do you hope to work as a freelancer or as an official in Mississippi?
Well, after my internship, I'd always thought freelance, but after doing the internship, I've fallen in love with the official work. It's really exciting to me, and I really enjoyed it. So I think I'm leaning more towards maybe trying to find an official position or freelancing until an official position comes open around where I am. But I was really more interested with the official side of everything after doing my internship.
Excellent. Um, do they? Hopefully, they pay you really well in Mississippi. I'll let you know that in Texas, there are a lot of jurisdictions that pay a starting salary over 100,000 a year as official.
I remember you saying that in the procedures class, and I was like, oh, wow.
Yeah, you may want to move to Texas, Abby.
I
Um,
might have to.
yeah. A couple more things I want to ask you. My theory is a unique one that has the years in one stroke.
Oh,
How do you like the years in one stroke? Do you use them? Do you not use them? Or how do you do on those?
I have to be honest, I really don't use them.
Okay.
I um I write all of my numbers out, and a
Hmm.
reporter actually got on to me recently because she said, if you would use the number bar, you'd be faster. But for some reason, I'm just more comfortable writing them out, and I just haven't gotten the comfort of the number bar. I need to. I really need to.
You may want to go back and revisit the years in one
Yes.
stroke, because once you get them down, they feel so good. And
Yeah.
in fact, even comma 2022 comma is all one
Mhm.
stroke.
I know. They're so useful. I think I just really struggled with that chapter, and whenever it comes up in my WG, I still practice them so I don't forget the
Good.
finger placement and all, but I just haven't implemented them into my actual writing whenever I'm going at speeds and everything.
Good, good. What about the right-hand phrase enders that we learned later in class, such as ask? Do you use those?
I use ask, and for some reason, I struggle with told. Told is in my personal
Mm-hmm.
diction, not personal dictionary, personal WG, because for some reason, every time it pops up, I cannot remember it. I can get the ask
Mm-hmm.
and asked, but I struggle with told for some reason.
Yeah,
I need to do it a lot more.
yeah. For those of you watching who haven't been to our school, when she mentions a WG, that is an Excel file that we make and provide at our school that stands for Words Generator. And what you do is you make your personal one and you put in it all the words and phrases that you're struggling with, and then it makes basically flashcards for you, except instead of showing you one flashcard, it shows you 30 at a time, and you can just write the 30 flashcards of the things you're struggling with. So she was saying she's put the told right-hand phrase ender into her WG files. And we also use the WG files in every chapter. They have one file that has every word and phrase in that chapter, and they can work on it just out of Excel. So it's very useful. All right, let's see, anything else? I can't think of anything else I want to ask you. Is there anything you want to either comment on, or anything you can think of, or anything our viewers might be interested in?
If I could, I've had a couple of people ask me for advice, and if I could give two major pieces of advice, number one would be, don't ever compare your court reporting journey to someone else's, because one of the great things about court reporting school is everybody's journey is different. Everybody's journey through school is different. Everybody has different things going on in their lives. So, I think it's good to look at people for inspiration, but don't ever let someone else's journey affect, let you get down on yourself and make you feel like you're not doing what you need to do, because as long as you're putting in the best work that you can, that's what's important. And then number two is know when to take a break. I'm very bad about not knowing when I need to take a break. And when I entered speed building, the break that we had before that, I was constantly on my machine, constantly pushing, trying to go ahead and get my speed up. And I wasn't giving myself any downtime at all. And my family took a vacation, and I was kind of forced off my machine because I didn't really have time to practice a whole lot. And there was about 3 days where I didn't have time on my machine at all, and it killed me, and I hated it, but that break really helped me. I came back and passed my 225s right after that with over 97%. So the biggest two pieces of advice I can give is don't let yourself get down looking at other people's journeys. Your timing is right for you, and it will happen for you as long as you're putting in that work that you can. And then take a break when you need to take a break, because if you're like me and you just keep pushing through it, it can sometimes be worse for you than it can be better. So
when you say take a break, do you mean take a day or a few days off, or what do you mean by that?
Yeah, I wouldn't let myself take a day off of practicing. So sometimes you just need a day to recuperate, or if you end up like me, you're in a situation where you find out you can't really be on your machine, and it ends up being more than a few days, instead of getting down on yourself about it, because I did, thinking, oh well, my writing's about to be terrible. Just enjoy the few days that you have off and come back just as strong as you did before. And a lot of times you're not going to lose your writing. You might have to fine-tune it a little bit when you come back, but it's good to give your body and your mind a break from being on the machine and just constantly going at it. So
excellent. Well, I think that is excellent advice, and it's probably an excellent time to end the interview. Abby, I'm so proud of you. You are just the fastest student we've ever had to finish speed. And when do you intend to graduate? Obviously, you could have just left school, but you want to graduate so that we can give you the certificate.
Yes, I promised my mom I would get the certificate.
I'm so glad, because we want you as a graduate. When do you hope to be finished? Would it be at the end of August?
I'm hoping by the end of August. I have 14 hours left for my internship. I've already made the transcript I have to make for the internship. I just need to edit a few things on it. So hopefully within the next couple weeks I can get those hours in and finish up punctuation and technology and be good to go.
Oh, that's excellent. That means you'll finish in just under a year.
Yes.
Yep. And the speed in, if I do the math, July, August, September, 10 months.
I think it was actually 10 months to the day. I started on September the 8th, and I think July the 8th was when I finished. So it was like,
wow,
to a T.
10 months to the day. That is amazing.
Yeah.
Well, thank you again, Abby. Thank you so much. Again, I'm really proud of you, and hopefully this interview will inspire a lot of other people.
I hope so. And I'm on Facebook in the Encouraging Court Reporting Students group. I'm not a big poster, but if anybody ever wants to reach out, I will answer, give whatever help I can give. If you just need to rant about court reporting school, just hit me up.
That's wonderful. Thank you, Abby.
Thank you so much, Mark.